Before we continue, understand this podcast is for adults only and refers to relationships and activities between adults which are voluntary and consensual. If you or anyone you know is being abused, coerced, or violently aggressed against, please reach out for help to the appropriate authorities. Hello and welcome. Gorean Voice, Episode 16, Kajira and Body Count. Thanks for joining me again. This week's topic is a little on the fraught side. It is something that our modern culture must deal with, and that our antecedent cultures thought they had figured out. The solutions that classical cultures had in hand were not quite as complete as they thought they were. And the friction between moderns and conservatives on this topic eat up a lot more of our cultural bandwidth than it should, especially among people in the dating or mating market. This episode shares its title and is inspired by the title of a forum post in the Gorean Gathering Place Fetlife group from the fall of 2022. Though my reply came in the fall of 2023. The original post and several of the initial replies dealt with the practical, ground-level, cash-value truth of any given master's preference for Kajira that are more or less experienced in terms of how many male lovers they've had. As you know, old Pan here is never at a loss for words, and I wanted to talk about the issue more broadly. So my little essay was as follows. Good morning. Original poster, great topic. I agree with one of the replies, that body count is something of a vulgar way to describe this. I'd prefer if the females could possibly refrain from reading. Thanks, ladies. I speak this language well. For those of us fellows who speak the language fluently, let's not forget that most of us learned each word at her expense. Whose exactly? Some her, some she, some creature who saw more in us than was really there, or who believed us when we promised more than we were actually prepared to give. How many of those creatures did I plow through on my way to where I stand now, as a happy, healthy patriarch who is master of his house to the utmost? How many broken hearts did I leave in my wake? How many did you leave in yours? One is too many. Where is she now? Where are you now? You're probably like me, got out with hardly a scratch, striding forth through this world, from one endeavor, enterprise, adventure, or conquest to another. Sure, good for us. But where is she now? She may have had adventures too, but let's not pretend that we're affected the same way as women. Her adventures weren't adventures, even if she calls them by that name. This horrible lie is among the many ways in which women are the primary victims of feminism. I shared time, energy, and volition with them, along with a touch of dance, guitar, or a little artful dodging. I entertained them. They shared themselves with me in a way they can't ever share themselves again. Look, I've always been in great shape, can rock and roll all night, and know how to find the bells and whistles in the dark. But even so, the trade was in my favor, deeply in my favor. Where are they now, though? I'm a child of the 80s, and thanks to an uncle's bookshelf, essentially grew up with gore on the brain. I made each and every one of them call me by my proper name, and I called each one by hers. Each of their necks tasted steel, though my metalworking and metal purchasing have improved in the last 20 years. I have the body count, not them. They have more like a bullet count, or a number of harpoons through the heart count. Even as they held the spear gun against their chest and said, "Please, master, shoot me," it was still me who pulled the trigger. Yes, the lower number is the better number. There's a much greater difference from 0 to 1, or even from 2 to 3 than there is between 50 and 51. Each harpoon hurts a little less than the last, but each one kills her all over again. We are men who talk of owning, mastering, and loving women, and about whether our preferences and needs will be met by a more or less experienced woman. Gorean or not, the women on this rock only get to be 21 once, and far too many of them were 21 with men like me, and probably you. Be kind to them. Try to borrow my one real virtue, that I'm strong enough to be gentle, and most of all, remember that Jubal Harshaw was right. Women may grow old in the body, or even in the mind, but no woman ever grew older than 18 in her heart. Lads, please remember, you and I learned to speak this language at their expense. Again, be kind to them. Well, that's the end of the essay. For reference, Jubal Harshaw was a character from Robert Heinlein's novel, Stranger in a Strange Land. I paraphrased the conclusion of a longer monologue of his about Rodin's sculpture, La Belle Aulmière. This isn't a topic that covers me, or any men, in glory. Yes, it's true that women suffer much more than men do on its account. Women bear the brunt of the shame, the trauma, the emotional damage, and even the biological risk. Getting out lucky isn't the same thing as having played it smart, and we are all lovers in a dangerous time. Sorry it's a short one today. I'm going to see you all again in September, after the solstice, but I'm taking the rest of the summer to work on the care and feeding of my Ichiban Dorei-chan. There are aspects of her that I haven't seen to properly, as she is also my soulmate, the love of my life, my wife, the mother of my children. The cultivation of this relationship is my priority. I also have some serious shadow work to undertake. Some of what I thought were my strengths are actually weaknesses, and in some aspects of life I surfed by on charm and charisma rather than doing the work. There are some parts of life I thought I saw clearer than most, in which I was nearly blind, and I'm just now opening up my eyes. Most importantly, some of the facets of life in which I thought I had reached my fullest height are the facets in which I have the most to grow. If there is one thing I can share in this regard, it's that effective communication is key to everything. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to seeing you again for Season 2. Please keep the shares and comments flowing. I learn from you as you learn from me. Thanks for listening today. In Season 2, I will be continuing with the planned episodes, including the upcoming 6 episodes on the topics of honor, gore and health and medicine, hand signals / wordless commands, a DAO, that's a decentralized autonomous organization of gore, the intersection of gore and religion, and I'll be taking a look at Gorean adaptations, works that are obviously derivative of gore, and fanfics. The quality has surprised me in both senses. More importantly, though, Season 2 will place a deeper emphasis on the relationships that are the most important in our lives, as throughout it, I'll be working on my most important relationships. Enjoy your summer, stay safe, and I'll see you after the solstice. Lads, put down the binoculars from time to time, and make use of an older optical device, the mirror. Lasses, even when you find feet of clay at the base of that which you worship, be sure to continue to say your prayers. Fair winds, happy trails, farewell.